In this video, I'm going to explain how to cite the Bible and our textbook in the forums. This video will include additional information from the video that was in English 1613. So if you're in our Spiritual Life forum and you want to quote a Bible verse, what you need to make sure you do first is put the words you're using from the Bible in quotation marks. This shows the reader that these are not your words, but that they're the words from the Bible. And then at the end of the quote, you could put in parentheses the name of the book, the chapter and verse number, and then the name of the version of the Bible we're using. If you want to introduce your quote, and this is the preferred method, you might say something like, my favorite verse says, quote, for I know the plans I have for you. And you would go to the end of the quote, and at the end of the quote, in parentheses, you put the book name, chapter, verse, and then the version of the Bible you're using. Or you could say at the beginning, Jeremiah 29:11, and then in parentheses put the Bible version says, and you would give the quote. If you're just paraphrasing the Bible, meaning you're not borrowing a word-for-word translation, you do not need quotation marks. An example of that might be Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us that the Lord has a plan for our life. Or if you want to say it differently, you could say, we are reminded that the Lord has a plan for each of us. And at the end of the sentence, in parentheses, put the book, chapter, and verse. Now, one note, you don't need to have a bibliographic citation for the Bible in APA. You only need to have an in-text citation. So what I've shown you here are how to do the in-text citations. So a couple other notes for citing the Bible. The first time you give the quote, you need to spell out the Bible version. So instead of saying ESV, I would say English Standard Version. For any subsequent quotes, you can just give the abbreviation of the Bible version. If you're using more than one version, each time you give the new version, you need to spell it out. When you are giving a paraphrase, you do not need to spell out the Bible version. So for our textbook, 3 things you need in the in-text citation. So if I wanted to quote the book, maybe give the definition for argumentation that's due in our first forum. These are the 3 things I need. I need the author's last names, the year the book was published, and the page number where I got the quote from. So this could be an example of how to do it. Sutton and Fisher, 2018, state a statement that is not supported with reasons or evidence might be termed an assertion. So here I have the last names of the 2 authors, the year that the book is published, and the page number I got that quote from. Or if I don't want to state their name in the sentence, I can do it this way. I agree with this statement. A statement that is not supported with reasons or evidence might be termed an assertion. And I would give the author's last names, the year, and the page number. Notice that when I have the whole thing in the parentheses, I use an ampersand sign between the author's 2 names, whereas if it's in the text of my post, I spell out the word and. So here's some more examples of what that could look like. Here would be a direct quote with the whole citation at the end, or I agree with the statement with the quote, or I could split it this way and say Sutton and Fisher 2018 state, give the quote with the page number at the end. For paraphrasing, you still cite the exact same way. You need to include the author, the year, and the page number. So how to create the bibliographic citation for our textbook. For this, you will need to put this citation at the bottom of your discussion forum post. So what you need to do is know the formula. So the formula for creating a book citation is author last name, first name, year of publication, title of book, and the publisher. You can find the author's last name at the top of the cover of the book, along with the book title. And then the publisher, if you flip 2 pages in on the back side of the cover page, not exactly the cover of the book, but the cover page, you'll see the publisher name, Kendall Hunt, and the year that the book was published, 2018. So our citation would look like this: Sutton, last name of the author, comma, with the abbreviation of their first name with the period, the ampersand sign, Fisher, the last name of the second author, with their abbreviation of their first name, the year, in parentheses, with the period after it, then academic writing and the emerging scholar, all italicized, with only the first word in the title capitalized, and then the name of the publisher, Kendall Hunt, with a period after it. So pay careful attention to the punctuation. You should have comma, period, which it's missing there, but included, ampersand, comma, period, parenthesis, year, closing parenthesis, period, title of book, period, publisher name, period. Okay, this citation must go at the end of your discussion forum post or spiritual life discussion post if you quote or reference the textbook in your post. So pay careful attention to punctuation as well when giving quotes, either from the Bible or from our textbook. So if you're introducing the quote, something like my favorite verse says, you would put a comma after says, and right before introducing the quote, and then you notice our quotation mark. At the end, you have the quotation mark, then the parenthesis for the citation, and at the very end of the citation, you put the period. You do not put the period up here. It must go after the citation. So here's just a brief overview how to cite the Bible and our textbook in the forums. If you have any additional